where the scent of old paper and leather hung thick in the air. He was researching a notoriously obscure Victorian poet. She was meticulously indexing a collection of handwritten letters. Their connection began with a look here, a glance there. They both habitually used a very specific and a very expensive fine-tipped pen, and they both left notes in the libraries for each of them to find. John is meticulous and honest about what he doesn't understand, using a simple symbol, a question mark. And Rachel, days later, would answer him in a miniature, citing an obscure literary theory. Their dialogue existed entirely in the silent spaces between the poems. One Tuesday, they arrived at the same shelf, at the same time. John held out the book, open to his latest question mark. "The image is a hinge," Rachel whispered, her voice soft but clear, pointing at her minuscule script. "It suggests the inevitable movement between two rooms, past and future. It's structural." "John," he managed, feeling a warmth spread across his chest that had nothing to do with the library's radiator. Hi, my name is John." Holding his hand out. "Hi, I am Rachel," she replied, taking his hand. She could feel the warmth in his hand, with her eyes the color of warm hazelnut. Meeting his, "John, I thought you'd never speak." It seemed to the both of them that shaking hands, it made her thoughts go wild. John was about to lose his breath. You could just see the sparkle. "You see, John is very shy." John was trying to ask her out. Rachel, being guarded, thought he was a very nice young man. Their last meeting at the library, John asked. "Rachel, hi. You see? Well, can I ask you out on a date? It may be coffee or a movie." And before John could finish, "John, yes, I will go out with you." Their dates didn't involve grand venues. They involved long talks that peeled back the layers of their defenses. They traded book recommendations, and then stayed up until 3 a.m. arguing over the endings. John, a reserved man who preferred the company of solitude, found himself needing to share every small victory and frustration with Rachel. They discovered they loved the same things: the smell of rain on hot pavement, the precise geometry of a well-made coffee, and the quiet relief of true honesty. "It's not just that I like talking to you," John confessed one night, sitting on the fire escape outside her tiny apartment. The air was cool and crisp. "It's that I feel structurally sound when I'm with you. Like the chaos in my own mind finally makes sense." Rachel leaned her head against his shoulder, her hair smelling faintly of sandalwood and ink. "John, I feel anchored. You don't try to fill the silence, you just hold the space." Falling in love with Rachel felt less like the slow, purposeful construction of a beautiful building, brick by careful brick, held together by shared vulnerabilities, and the absolute certainty of mutual respect. The night it happened was unplanned and perfectly ordinary. They were at John's small, cluttered apartment, having just finished watching a fiercely sad French film that left them emotionally drained and close. The credits rolled, and a deep, comfortable quiet settled between them. John turned, finding Rachel already looking at him. There was no doubt in her eyes, only a profound, tender clarity. He reached out, tracing the line of her jaw with his thumb. "Rachel," he whispered, the sound a promise. She didn't need him to say more. She knew, she had known for weeks, that this was where the arc of their connection was inevitably leading. "Yes, John," she answered, her hand meeting his, her gaze steady and full of trust. "I want this. All of it." Standing by the window, Rachel standing in front of John, leaning into him. With John holding her around her waist, she brings up her hands, grabs John's face and the back of his neck. She looks at him with a gaze that could last a lifetime. He leaned in closer, not to kiss her, but just to share the same breath. The air between them, charged with months of unspoken yearning, felt heavier than the rain outside. Rachel, wrapping her arms around John. As I put my ear to his chest, I could hear his heartbeat. I could feel him take a breath. I knew from this point I needed him. John lifted his hand from her back, cupping the side of Rachel's face. His thumb brushed just beneath her cheekbone. Her eyes drifted shut at the touch, with her lips lightly parted, and the small, hitching sound of her exhale was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. It was soft at first, a question asked tenderly, testing the boundaries of their shared moment. When she responded, the kiss shifted, becoming a certainty. A release of all the held breath and restrained feeling of the past months. His hands moved to her shoulders, then slowly traced the length of her arms, registering the fine tremors of excitement beneath her skin. Every movement was slow, measured by the knowledge that this was a moment to be savored, not rushed. It was the perfect exposure, John managed, running his fingers through her hair, smoothing the strands back from her temple. Nothing hidden, everything focused. After the long, intense hours we spent together, our bodies tangled in the sheets, breathless and drenched in sweat and pleasure, I felt lightheaded, dizzy-like, and I was floating in a dream I never wanted to wake up from. As they lay next to each other, catching their breath, John looking into her eyes, his arm was on her waist, his hand was holding the side of her cheek. He could see a small teardrop rolling down to his hand. Rachel, are you okay? Yes, John. I have never felt like this. Our skin sticking together in the aftermath of everything we had done. Rachel swallowed, letting out a soft, satisfied sigh, fingers tracing lazy circles on his chest. We should probably go clean up, Rachel whispered. John exhaled a quiet chuckle, his deep voice vibrating against her skin. Yeah, he murmured, brushing his thumb, wiping the teardrop away. But I like you just like this. Rachel giggled, nudging him playfully, before pushing myself up onto my elbows. I needed to move. If I stayed here too long, if I let myself sink too deep into this warmth, this safety, this feeling of belonging in his arms, I might never leave. John groaned, but followed. John, my legs are shaking. Please hold me. Both stumbling into the bathroom, their bodies still aching, still humming from the aftershocks of what we had just done. The water was warm, almost too warm, but it felt like heaven against my skin. As I reached for the soap, my fingers still trembling slightly, but before I could do anything, John's hands found mine. He took the soap from me, turning me around so that my back pressed against his chest, my body flush against his. I shivered, but it wasn't from the water. Rachel, let me, he murmured against my ear. I didn't argue. I didn't even move. I just let him wash me. His hands were slow, soothing, moving across my shoulders, down my arms, tracing every curve with a tenderness I wasn't expecting. He was silent the whole time, but the way he touched me, that said everything. When I turned around to do the same for him, he watched me the whole time. Dark eyes, full of something I couldn't name, something that made my stomach tighten in ways I wasn't ready to admit. Come Monday, we were back in the library, still passing notes back and forth like school kids, you know? I am going to call my mom. Hey Mom, I met a guy.
There is more stories to come if you like this content. Please subscribe and a thumbs up. Ciao.